Good evening, my name is Robert Neal. I'm the Democrat in this race. I'm running for United States House of Representatives because I want to represent you in Washington. Too many times our politicians get to Washington or Tallahassee and don't represent us, they represent themselves, and I want to represent you. This isn't the first time I've run for public office. I've never been elected, but it's not the first time. For a moment, I'd like to tell you about the first time. It was in 1996, and with respect to the candidates for sheriff who are here, I ran for sheriff of Lee County. Well, when I decided to run, I picked up the phone and I called my father. He answered and I said, "Dad, I think I'm going to run for sheriff of Lee County." And then, without taking a breath, I went right into my campaign speech. And I told him all the reasons I would be a good sheriff and what I could do for the county and all the good things that would happen if I was sheriff of Lee County. Well, you know how wise and patient fathers are. He never presumed to interrupt me. He listened carefully to everything I had to say, and I rambled and rambled and rambled. Finally, after about 5 or 6 minutes, I stopped talking. I could hear a pause on the other side of the line. I heard my father draw a breath. He says, "Well, just make sure you put Junior on all those papers." So that's the first time I ran for sheriff. I ran for sheriff again in 2000. I ran for United States House of Representatives in 2004. I ran for United States House of Representatives in 2006. And I'm running again in 2008 because I have a passion to represent you. I want to bring the skills that I have to Washington because we desperately need them right now. My skills are in accounting, tax preparation, and record keeping for small business. I've owned my own accounting practice since 1979. That's what I do to support my family. Tell me that we could use somebody in Washington that can count better than they can talk. I can't tell you how important it is. When I see the questions, what 2 items would you implement or change? Friends, the 2 most important items to my view are the pain we're suffering here in Southwest Florida and the pain we're suffering here in Southwest Florida. I have to tell you that pain has a lot of different facets. The gas prices are killing us, although we've had a little relief lately, and I expect them to continue going down until November 4th, but hold on to your bootstraps after November 4th. We're worried about jobs right now. It's very difficult for some folks to find employment. I know I have a sister who's been out of work since May, and she's searching diligently every day to try and find a job. Some folks are having trouble finding daycare, qualified daycare for their children. Some folks are worried about the education of their children. And as many seniors as we have here, as well as many parents with small children, everybody's worried about health care. These are the things that cause the pain. To my view, the thing that causes all these things to be out of whack is the deficit. This country owes over $10 trillion. The interest alone on the debt is approximately $600 per month for a family of 4. How far would $600 per month go towards providing health insurance for that family? But we can't afford to buy our health insurance sometimes because we have a $10 trillion deficit. By the way, your share of that deficit is about $35,000. So before you leave tonight, we'll be very grateful if you leave a check at the door. I can't cough mine either. I know how you feel. But we have to control this deficit. Friends, there's only 2 ways to control the deficit. One is to increase revenues, the other is to decrease expenditures. To decrease expenditures, I propose that we end the senseless war in Iraq. Bring our troops home, stand them shoulder to shoulder at the border if necessary to protect the homeland, and chase the terrorists where they are. I believe the terrorists are in the mountains of Afghanistan and Pakistan, and we need to be supporting those 2 countries in their efforts to find the terrorists and terminate them. The other thing we need to do is raise taxes on the wealthiest Americans, and we can do that by changing the qualified dividend rules and only allowing a certain amount of dividends to be eligible for the preferential tax treatment. Thank you for inviting me out here tonight. I'm very grateful to speak to you. I hope that you'll consider my information for you and vote for me on November 4th. My name is Robert Neal. I'm a candidate for the United States House of Representatives, Florida's 14th Congressional District.
last 10 years. It's been a high honor for me to represent Lee and Collier counties in the Florida Senate. I had made the decision to run for the United States House of Representatives because I'm very, very concerned about where this country is going. I'm very, very concerned about our economy. And I'm not so concerned about myself, but I'm concerned about my children, your children, and my grandchildren, and your grandchildren. I'm concerned that if we don't turn this ship of state around, that the future for this great country is not as bright in the future as it has been in the past. Now, I'm an eternal optimist. We have the most entrepreneurial people in the world. We have the best workforce in the world. We have the greatest form of government in the world. And I know that we will work our way through these problems. The thing that concerns me is that, again, looking at some of these questions, one of the things that concerns me the most is the partisan bickering that has crippled Congress. Congress has an approval rating of 9%. And it's because of the partisan bickering, it's because of the corruption, it's because nothing gets done. Nothing gets done on immigration reform, nothing gets done on energy independence, nothing gets done on health care reform. The major issues, the economy, things that are major issues of the day. Another thing that kind of got me started thinking about running for Congress is the fact that the incumbent is an absentee member of our community. He's not here. He won't come to any events. He won't mingle with the people that he wants to represent. He doesn't hear from you as to what's on your mind, what's bothering you. And I consider that to be an outrage. I think it's important that candidates, even if you don't have serious opposition, I think it's important for candidates to come to campaign events, to tell the people what they are thinking, but most importantly, to hear back from you. I remember back in 2002, Porter Goss had no opposition, I had no opposition, and the two of us were on the campaign trail, talking to voters, coming to these types of events, and finding out what was on your mind. That got me really started in looking at this. The second thing that got me convinced that I needed to run for this office was the fact that the incumbent really is out of touch in terms of what the needs are of this community. His voting record is inconsistent with the needs of the state and this country. You know, we talk about energy independence as an example. I did the energy legislation for the Senate this year, and we have a great energy package for the future of this state. We're going to make our buildings more energy efficient. We're going to have alternative fuels. We're going to require our power companies to use wind, solar, biomass, nuclear, and other forms of energy to generate electricity. We have no national energy policy. Now, the incumbent has had plenty of opportunities to vote for measures to promote energy independence, but he's voted against those measures at every step of the way, voting in favor of the big oil companies instead of the consumers. And if you go down the list on every issue, you'll find the same things there. So what do I want to do when I get to Congress to represent you there? Well, there's certain issues that I've spent an awful lot of time working on over the last 10 years as you're a member of the Senate. I mentioned energy, health care, the environment. Those types of issues are critically important to our future here, and I want to continue working on those as your next congressman. The issues of the economy. You know, the incumbent says that this bailout package should never have been approved by Congress because, according to the incumbent, the problem is that we have too much regulation in the banking industry, and that we should eliminate regulation and let the free market do what it will do to protect all of us. The incumbent also says that this bailout is an end to the free market system as we know it. Well, the fact of the matter is, it was the deregulation of the banking industry that led to so much greed and corruption that resulted in this collapse of our financial markets. I want to go to Washington to help solve the problems up with the economy, as well as the other things that I've mentioned. One of the other questions is what will we do to show how we are performing as a member of the United States Congress. For the last 10 years, I have conducted town hall meetings every year throughout my Senate district. I have a Senate office in Cape Coral. I have a Senate office in Naples. I am very transparent in terms of what I have accomplished over the years, and I've spent an awful lot of time communicating with the public, and I'll continue to do so. You'll know where I stand on issues. When you call my office, you'll get an answer. If you need to talk to me, I'll be available to talk to you. Again, I am running for the United States Congress because I'm outraged at the partisan bickering that has crippled Congress. I need your support to make a change in Congress. My webpage is bertsaunders.com. I need your vote, I need your support. I need you to contact your neighbors and your friends and let them know how important this election is and how important it is to vote for Bert Saunders so we can have a change here in our representation. Thank you very much.
I'm Betty G. Betty Gissedanner, candidate for the Florida House of Representatives in District 71. And I would like to go to Tallahassee to be your state representative. If you don't live in District 71, remember the phrase, phone a friend. I've had two very successful careers. I have a baccalaureate and a master's degree in nursing, and I served 20 years in Port Charlotte as a State Farm insurance agent. Let's agree, health insurance and property insurance are two issues that are troubling our families. I'm the proud mother of one son who's in the United States Air Force. He's in the 9th year serving our great country, stationed at Ramstein Air Force Base, where he and his teammates extract those who have been injured in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Kuwait. I'd like for it, when he comes back to the United States after having been gone for 7 years, I'd like for him to come back to Florida where he can find a job that pays a living wage. I'd like for him to come back to something more than a slogan that says, support our troops. I retired in 2006, and I began to just believe that that was the way my life would be, wonderful and complete. But let me assure you that I care too deeply about my community. When I began to see the names of families that had taken good care of me when I was working, I saw their names in foreclosures and bankruptcies. So on March the 17th, I filed to run for the Florida House of Representatives, and I've been running ever since. The two issues that I would attack if elected would be I would aim to reform property insurance and make it true reform. I would also work at ending some of the foreclosures so that more of our families could stay in their homes. More than 2/3 of the homes that are foreclosed upon are families with children. Those families have to live someplace. You can notice it in your own communities. The grass is almost as tall as I am, and it's driving down the values of our homes. We need our families to stay in their homes, and I'm advocating for families first. And I would say, how would you measure me on that? When you begin to see fewer and fewer homes foreclosed, when you begin to see your homeowner association bills become less because they have more families to spread those bills out among, and when you see your tax bill perhaps go down because we're not having to deal with so many negatives in our society. I would really like to see more jobs created here, because if our families are working, they'll pay their bills, they'll plan for their children's education, and they'll also plan for their retirement. And when they are retired, they'll stay right here in our communities. And property insurance. Property insurance has just become such an issue that I'm beginning to believe that the politicians save it so they'll have an issue to talk about every year on the campaign trail. Once and for all, with the qualification of having been an insurance agent for 20 years, I'm ready to go to Tallahassee and say, we can solve this insurance problem. We here in Lee County have seen the highest foreclosures. We've seen joblessness like we've never seen before. And critical to our economy being rebuilt, it will be having property insurance reform. And I would say to you, I am prepared to go, and you'll know that because you will no longer subsidize those people who live in more hazard areas. Rates need to reflect where and how you live. We need to harden our homes, and we need to make sure that you pay only the fair price. My name is Betty Gissedanner. I'll be on the ballot as Betty G, and I'd appreciate your vote on November the 4th.
Hi, I'm Ken Robertson, and it's great to be with you all this evening, and I'd like to thank President Greg and the North Fort Myers Civic Association for having this candidate forum. And I'm also a candidate for State Representative District 71. If you're not familiar with 71, it's most of Charlotte County, some of the southern part of Sarasota County, and it loops down around Cape Coral, Barnstore Road into North Fort Myers. It's a seat that's currently held by State Representative Michael Grant. A little bit about myself. I'm a native Floridian, like one of these gentlemen here, and I was born and raised in Braden and Manatee County, and I moved to Charlotte County 32 years ago to open my own business. And when I moved to Charlotte County, there was one stoplight there. And I've seen tremendous growth in this whole area of Southwest Florida. I'm in the funeral and cemetery business. And it's a business like a lot of other businesses where we deal with everybody in the community. And so I know the community, and I know it well, and I know its problems. I'm running because I think we're really at a critical crossroads here in Florida, from continuing property tax reform to addressing quality education and continued property insurance reform and keeping our taxes low. To me, the three most important issues that we have in Florida and the legislature is going to be faced with in this next session is continued to try to do something to get Florida's economy started again and create more jobs. And also, secondly, we need to adequately fund education and control government spending and the budget. The Florida Constitution requires the legislature to go up there and do one thing: balance the budget. And there's going to be a lot of tough decisions going to have to be made. We're in a downturn right now. The revenue are shortfalling, and the legislature is going to have to take a scalpel and look at all these programs and things and make the cuts on programs that aren't working so we can balance the budget. Florida spends a tremendous amount of money on education. It's almost 40% of the budget. And when I hear people say, oh, we need to spend more on education, the legislature is spending a little more every year on education. But we need to concentrate on more programs that emphasize science, technology, and math and English, so we can have a quality workforce, an educated workforce that will help attract some of these high-tech companies that want to move into Florida. If elected, what are the two items that you would implement for change? I would certainly advocate continued property insurance reform. We need to get citizens actuarially sound to charge rates that are affordable. And we need to try to reform the Florida Catastrophic Fund. It's a real liability for Florida if we have a major disaster here. The second thing I'd work on is continued property insurance reform and property taxes, because I believe in equity and fairness for all property owners. I support a 5% cap on non-homesteaded properties, and I think we should really take a look at the recapture rule, which allows you pay more taxes on your homesteaded properties, although your appraisal is falling. How would you measure your performance if I'm up there? I would measure it on my character, my integrity, and how I serve my constituents. A lot of the things you do as a state legislator is serve your constituents on their day-to-day problems that they have. Professional services like problems with driver's license, child enforcement, and that sort of thing. Being a legislator is a team sport. It's a collegial body, and you have to be able to work with the other 119 House members and 40 legislators and senators, and the government gets the job done. If you live in District 71, I'd appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, and thank you for being here tonight. My name is Judy Giuliano, but my friends call me JJ. I'm your Democratic candidate for the House District 72, and I've lived in Charlotte County since 1985. I work in the healthcare profession since 1983. I have one adult son and 3 good-looking grandchildren. And community involvement is very important to me. And I am proud to say that through the many years of involvement within my community, I was recognized in 2007 when I received a certificate of award for Best Individual Effort in Community Service from Charlotte Regional Hospital as nominated by my peers. Being actively connected with people and community is an important part of being a state representative, and that's what I intend to continue if elected. I'm a proud first-generation Italian-American. Both sets of my parents immigrated from Italy legally. My mother was a seamstress, my father was a shoemaker, and after a lot of hard work, he finally became a small business owner. My family taught me about traditional values, integrity, hard work, and social responsibilities. And if you want someone who will fight for the middle class and will put people and communities first, then I'm your person. As you know, Florida faces many challenges, from high foreclosure rates to low high school graduation rates. And unfortunately, Florida has converted to a low-wage, high-cost state, making it difficult to stay here, retire here, or to move here. And I believe it is time for solutions, and a fix begins with correcting priorities. It's time to correct the lopsided decisions that have been done over the years. It's time to move towards a more diverse economy and not relying so heavily on construction. Service industry jobs are waiting for people to make money to come here. As your state legislator, I would focus on the bread and butter issues that are important to people, like good paying jobs, solutions on how we can bring back money into our state, economic development, and addressing the mortgage crisis. Unfortunately, our state representatives this year argued about making license plates, baggy pants, bring your guns to work law, or if people should be fined for bull anatomy on their truck. I'm not kidding. They wasted too much valuable time and our money on non-issue stuff that's not important to our economy. I am ready, willing, and able to be your next state representative. I mean, I'm aware that I may not have the political status as some elected officials here tonight, but what I do offer is my common sense approach to the issues we face and the solutions we need. I have a long, quality record of public service that will serve you well. Thank you. In answer to the first question, I would have to say affordable health care insurance for small business owners. It's a plan that's been underutilized that would allow small businesses opportunity to group together to purchase as a bulk rate at a lower rate so they can offer it to their employees. The second issue I would want to change is the mortgage crisis. Florida has one of the highest rates of mortgage fraud, and we need to protect our consumers first. I would vote to change the oversight and documentation that complies with federal laws, adopting a comprehensive, streamlined, and loan modification program. A way to measure a person's performance is a great question. On how they can, I would say, one of the ways you can do it is how they conduct themselves and not necessarily how much time they've spent in Tallahassee. And I thank you for your time. I ask you for your vote. J.J. Giuliano, State Rep, District 72.
Good evening. I'm Paige Kriegel, and I am your state representative for District 72, which is where we're sitting right now. It has been my great honor and pleasure to represent this district in Tallahassee for the last 4 years. And I need to tell you, I am very impressed by the earnestness and the energy of the candidates who've gone before me and spoken tonight, and that includes my opponent, Ms. Giuliano. In my other life, I'm a medical doctor. I've practiced medicine in Port Charlotte on the border for 25 years. My wife is a school teacher. We have 3 children, 8, 7, and 4. I had the incredible honor this year of being appointed to the House as chair of the House Committee on Energy. And in fact, I was the House side of the energy bill, which Senator Saunders alluded to earlier. And I believe it did accomplish a lot in terms of moving Florida forward towards a future of energy conservation and efficiency and security as well. I've passed in my 4 years many other laws actually. I've had a fairly good batting average. Some of the ones I'm especially proud of are for veterans. I passed the Family Readiness Act, which may extend benefits from the state of Florida to our servicemen who have been mobilized and put in the regular Army who become demobilized back to the National Guard. This past year, I had a bill which passed, and it made more money available from the sale of specialty license plates for our state-run veterans nursing homes. Probably the most difficult thing we've got up there this coming year is the fact that we're not going to have any money. Plain and simple, we're going to have the worst budget we've seen in a decade. It's going to take people who are experienced and tough, and it's going to be some tough decisions. It's not going to be easy. We always talk about cutting fat. We cut some fat last year, but this year with the budget shortfalls, we're actually going to be cutting into programs. We're going to need to be able to think out of the box and come up with some innovative ways to keep things like Medicaid, our social medical safety net, still running, still functioning, still available for people who need it in the face of budget shortfalls. If elected, what 2 items would you implement or change? Well, 2 come to mind right away. The first one is Medicaid, and if I'm chairman of healthcare, we're going to have to work to find a better way of allocating our Medicaid dollars and keeping Medicaid going in the face of budget cuts. And we're going to take a look at some of the big ticket items there, both long-term care and formulary. And there's a lot of push from our friends out there in the pharmaceutical industry to keep the formulary wide open on Medicaid, but I don't think that can last forever. Another thing I'm going to do is quite local, and I've already discussed this with the leadership of the House, and I've discussed it with the leadership of Lee Memorial Hospital Systems, and that is to implement a bill which will bring greater trauma funding to our trauma center here at Lee Memorial Hospital. And it won't involve increased taxes, it will involve increased surcharges on certain automobile moving violations, which are most likely to wind people up in a trauma center. I pretty much got the green light out of these leadership on that issue. How would we, the voters, measure your performance on these items? Folks, a lot of people look at the job of being a state representative as being going to Tallahassee and spending 60 days and going to the cocktail parties and making a bunch of wild votes. That's part of it for sure. But the most important part of what we do isn't in Tallahassee. It's the rest of the time right down here in the district doing constituent service. And we do constituent service for people who call in with every possible problem you can imagine. That includes problems with Medicaid, problems with licensing, problems with child custody, any kind of state agency, zoning, DOT, children and families, you name it, we're there. We're the state ombudsman for District 72. And that is what we do the best. And truthfully, my office staff does the work and I take the credit for it, but that is what I'm most interested in doing and continuing to do. So I'm going to tell you, here's how you can measure a legislator's performance in Tallahassee 2 ways. The first way, look at the votes and see if the way he voted on the issues important to you would have lined up how you would have voted in the same position. And the other one is, when you call up because a state agency is not doing their job, they're not performing for you, they're throwing red tape instead of solutions, how the legislature cut through the red tape for you. I thank you very much. I'll be glad to entertain any questions.
Hello, my name is Stephen Gray Blansett. I am Democrat candidate for state representative for District 73. Thank you all for showing up tonight. As you can see, I'm the only one up here without a tie, and that's because I just left a Goodwill Industry promotion that I was working on with them. It's the Christmas tree lighting thing. And let me tell you a little bit about myself and my history. I've been in advertising for 28 years. That's my profession. And back in 2000, I took part of a local fundraiser called Kilimanjaro for Kids. And it was a fundraiser to raise funds for the local hospital here, for the Children's Memorial Hospital. And Senator Saunders, I think he was here, but anyhow, he was on that trip as well too. But the whole idea of that trip was to raise money and awareness for the hospital and also for a children's aid agency in Tanzania. Our goal was to raise $30,000 for the hospital, and we ended up raising $420,000 for the hospital. And thanks. But while I was on that trip, it was a life-changing experience for me because we got to tour the hospital and I got to see the preemie babies that were there. We also got to tour an orphanage in Tanzania where a lot of those children, well, actually all of those children were orphaned because of the AIDS epidemic. And when I came back from that trip, it really changed my life. And I left my advertising agency and started doing some of my fine art. Those of you who know me, I'm also a fine artist. But I started concentrating my advertising where it's going to help other people. And I mainly do pro bono work or reduced rate work for a lot of the local charities, including Goodwill Industries. But that's my background. Because when I started doing that, it's like in my advertising world, I'd see like one of my ads or something, and I was like, wow, it's really good, but what's it going to do to help anybody? It's going to end up lining a birdcage one end. And I just wanted to do something that would help other people. And when I get involved with an organization that's a charity organization like that, I roll up the sleeves and I get up there and I work out firsthand, and I don't just write a check and say goodbye or whatever, and good luck with whatever you're doing. I work at it, I get to know the people that are involved with it. There's one organization called Friends Together, and it's a organization in Avon Park, Florida, and we take children that are affected with AIDS, and we do weekend camps with them. And I go there and I'm a camp counselor, but that's what it said. So that's why I'm not wearing a tag, so I can't go another place. But why I'm running for state representative is because I'm not happy with what I'm seeing in Tallahassee. And one of the things that, one of the questions up there is if elected, what 2 items would you implement or change? Well, one of the ones that I'm really looking after right now, and a lot of you are concerned with it is too, is the privatizing Alligator Alley, or selling it off to a foreign company. And I will tell you right now, I am 100% against selling off Alligator Alley. My opponent is not opposed to that. The other thing is our economy the way it is, that's a national problem. It's something that's going to change overnight, but when it does change, Southwest Florida and all Florida has to be prepared for that, for the economy change. And 2 weeks ago, I brought up the fact that our FCAT system ranks 48th in the nation. If you read today's paper, it backed up exactly what I said before. And if we don't have a first-class public school system, when this economy turns around and businesses are looking to relocate to Florida, and we're still 48th in the nation, they're not going to want to relocate here, and they're not going to want to start up here. We should, and that's crazy, because we have the sunshine here, we have the wind here from the Gulf, we have, so Florida should be the number one in technology as far as new energy sources go. But with our education system ranked 48th, it's not going to happen. The other thing that changes our insurance, and I'm not going to take a lot of time to talk about that, but California has a program called it's the Advocacy for Earthquake. It's an insurance program that they have started, and it's basically like educating homeowners to reinforce their homes, protect them. They get discounts from the insurance companies for doing so, and it's a privatized company, but look it up online if you have time. And how would you measure your success? I think the best way to look at it is after the job's done, is look at what the newspapers are saying about you. And after the last session ended in Tallahassee, the headline in the newspaper said that our delegation at the State House had a so-so year. And with our economy the way it is, can we afford to have representatives representing you that do a so-so job? Absolutely not. I'm Stephen Gray Blansett. I would appreciate your vote come November 4th, or if you vote early, which I would suggest doing this time. Thank you.